Coffee Time with Coach Torres and Friends. Hi, everyone. Take a sip of coffee. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Coffee Time with Coach Torres and Friends. I'm Hector Torres, your host and USA Triathlon Level 3 coach. Today, we're diving into the art of picking your race. Yes, baby, for the season and how to strategically work backwards to achieve your goals. And I've been using this linear format of periodizations for several years. And I also use non-linear because it's all about adaptability and every single athletes are different. But if it's your first race that you're going to be doing and you're going to select, let's say, an Olympic distance in Texas, let's pick St. Petersburg, Florida, and let's pick St. Anthony's. And for the St. Anthony's race is April 26th, so we're gonna work backwards. Let's see what races that I could do to, help me throughout the season. So we're gonna talk all about that. Now, if you're a seasoned athlete or just starting off, understanding how to plan your race season can make all the difference. How your body adapts, how to recover quickly. So we're gonna pick it out in what's sorry, we got Cooper here. Now, Cooper is our bulldog, our gym bulldog. I love it. Now let's go ahead and pick your race for the season. As I mentioned, let's we have to consider some factors. All right. So whichever race you're planning for, this is what things we need to go discuss. What are your personal goals? What are you aiming for? Is it you're looking for your personal best or you just want to finish? It's your first race and you're just excited. And so there's many factors that we need to take in consideration when we're training, when we're creating that schedule. Now let's think about the logistics. You have to, think about travel, accommodations, and how this race is going to fit in your schedule. Because you have to look at the big picture. I was like, what else? What other life-changing events am I doing? So we also need to consider we have to research the climate and terrain of the race location to make sure it aligns with your strengths. Don't go pick a hilly race if you live in Florida because it's going to be tough for you to do a hilly race. Like, for example, if you do Wisconsin or you do like Placid, it's going to be a very tough race unless you have a bike trainer that's a smart trainer and you're able to travel and go to outdoors. You have to see, align it with your strengths. Now, let's do some research. Let's have what are currently resources. Check out the websites. For example, you have Ironman, you have usatriathlon.org, in which it shows you all the sanctioned races that USAT is covering. And by the way, if you're a USAT member, and it's a great benefit to have because you get the annual membership because you're able to have it for the whole year and use it just once for all the races. And it's you get all these benefits and you're being ranked within the ranking system. You're part of the community. And so I've been a member since I started doing races, and I'm like, I support them because I believe in them and I believe in the sport. So, and we're back. So that's not, I did not get anything from USAT, just having. Let's make sure check the reviews on the race. Check platforms like Race Check to get insights from past participants. So it's great to see feedback. I'm like, and talk to other triathletes. It's great. But when you work with a coach, the coach could look into it and see what are the race's strengths. I'm like, he could tell you, I'm like, no, that's not a good race for you, and he'll provide you a few other recommendations. Now, let's talk about working backwards from your race. I'm like, when people say that, I'm like, backwards, what does that mean? So, we're going to go tap into periodization right now. When you're working backwards, you have to create your annual schedule. You have to start making your race date on that calendar and work backwards to set key milestones in which you need to achieve this big picture. It's not saying, okay, I'm going to do it and I'm going to do this how many hours a week. Let's be realistic. Your body could break and wear and tear. We're not a machine, so we also need to allow our body to heal and adapt. And the only way that we're going to be doing that is with proper recovery. So as soon as you make that race date on the calendar, we will start working backwards. Periodization is crucial. Plan your training phases to build up gradually, especially if it's your first time. Because if you go too fast, you're looking into an injury, and that's time off, and it's going to mess you up here. Because I'm like, you want to do great at the race, but you're injured all the time because you're not following a plan, and you don't have anyone that's holding you accountable. Just saying. So now let's start creating a plan. By the way, I'm drinking Juan Valdez Colombian coffee, brought to you by Juan Valdez. No, I'm joking. It's great. Love it. So let's start creating your training plan. Divide your training plan into phases. You have the base phase, you have the build phase, you have the peak phase, and then you have the taper phase, in which you come back down a little bit because and getting ready for your big race. Remember, rest and recovery are just as important as the workouts themselves. So if you're not resting and you're not allowing your body to heal, you're going to create too much cortisol and your body's not going to heal. You're going to get stressed and you're going to gain weight because you're not training properly. Now, as we talked about rest and recovery, your nutrition is going to be key. But that's the next topic. Before we move on, I want to talk about adjusting for life events. Life happens. You need to be flexible. You cannot be stressing the hell out. This is a journey, an enjoyable journey. I don't want you to be stressed out thinking that I'm like, oh my God, I'm not getting the workouts done. My coach is going to kill me. I have this and that. I'm like, we as the coach, our job is to help you make life easier. We will hold you accountable and says, look, sometimes you have to learn to say no. And what are the first people do? They give up working out. That is the worst. I'm like, it pisses me off. I'm like, no, 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 no. You have to be this early riser. You have to start off early and get things done. You cannot be a procrastinator. And do not ever give up working out unless you're hospitalized and you can't move. But I'm like, it's building that routine. Life happens, be flexible. Adjust your training plan as needed. And your coaches are there to help you out. Now, understanding periodization. All right, so you got these phases now. You got the base phase, build phase, the peak phase, and then the taper phase. You know, periodization is a systematic planning of athletic training to reach your peak performance. So it's a gradual progression. Linear, there's two types here, and we're just going to talk about these two um, classic ones. You have the linear periodization is a gradual progression that involves gradually increasing your intensity, while nonlinear allows you more variation, in which you'll have highs and lows, and that could be due to travel. It could be um, injury, um, work, and that's why it's going to be very important when you talk with your coach and says, "Look, this is what I want to achieve." Training for an Ironman 10 hours a week is not going to cut it. Just wanted to let you know. I'm like, training for an Ironman, you're looking between 15 to 18 hours. If you do it in 12 hours, mira, good for you. You're like a freak of nature. But you're looking at them like the perspective. When I take my athletes, it's like, especially if you're a beginner, we're doing a lot of base phase, Bobby. So that's the things that we need to consider the race and taking all of those factors that we're currently talking about. You want to choose the approach that best suits you, your race type, and your personal schedule. That is why it's very important to work with your coach, talk with your coach, and the coach is going to say, "Look, this is a clear path." And sometimes coaches don't share from the, we share them like, "Look, this is the outline that I'd like to take you." And when they're working with your athlete's schedule, it's about adaptability. Seeing, are they adapting to the workouts? Are they being consistent with their training? I try. Sometimes I give 2 weeks at a time or just 1 week at a time, and I'm constantly watching, seeing. I'm like, how are they adapting? Did they push enough? How did they feel? And I'm like, all right. Sometimes I'll have that same workout, and I'm like, all right, we're going to do it again next week. I want to see how you do better and how your body's feeling and reacting to it. That's why communication is so important working with your coach. Now let's look at the big picture strategy. All right. Now, let's take this holistic approach. You're like, what? Holistic? I'm like, exactly, because it's not all set in stone. There's no cookie cutter workout that says, you're going to do this and this is what you're going to get. But I'm like, you have to be, you know, get ready because training is not just physical. You have to consider nutrition. You have to consider mental preparation and equipment. If you're going a long distance, like you need to make sure that you have the equipment to take you. Like you're going for a bike ride. Like make sure that your bike is in good conditions. Make sure it's working. Make sure it has at least the key essentials that you need to complete the race and train properly. Like having a cadence meter. There's some athletes that are like, I don't got a cadence meter. I'm like, I don't have a power meter. I'm like, okay, if you don't have a power meter, at least get a cadence meter to at least start building. I'm like some references. Make sure you have a heart rate monitor. Because one, you need to monitor your progress using tools like Training Peaks, Final Surge, and Garmin to track your progress and make data. I'm like seeing and making adjustments. So they're great tools. I'm like, if you have them, use them. You spent a shitload of money on them, so why aren't you using them properly? And if you have questions, ask your coach. That's what your coach is there for. We are on top of the latest. I'm like, I try to be the top of the latest of every technology that's coming out within the triathlon sport, and those are other topics we can be talking about on any other episodes. But there's so many gadgets coming out, and your coach has to be on point. Says, look, what's the latest? What are my athletes currently using? Why are people asking questions? That's why the coach needs to be immersed. I practice what I preach. I'm like, so nutrition. Let's go back. Remember, it's not just physical. You have to consider your nutrition and your mental preparation, and make sure you have the gear needed. If you says, look, Hector, I want to go 24 miles an hour and 25 average on the bike, and your bike is not in great condition, and you don't have a bike that's going to make you go fast, and it's not maintenance. I'm like, let's be real. Okay. So, adapting to change. Let's talk about that. Stay adaptable. If something isn't working, don't be afraid to tweak your plan. And your coach will tell you, it's like, you know what, your body's not doing that well here. Let's see how he can adjust here. And that's when, you know, there's the workouts a week. My athletes are like, why are you making me do this? I was like, well, you know what? Just trust me in this process, because I want you to just, I do a lot of strength training with my athletes, and, feeling that resistance, building that, muscle memory, just building that connection. It's going to help that athlete says, okay, look, now I get it. I'm like, my muscle needs to be this fatigued to get to this point. But when you're training alone all the time, who's going to tell you, oh, you pushed hard enough? Oh, what happened? You're slowing down. That's why I love being part of a club and a community, and coaching with my athletes and having hands-on, because you get to see their progress. Now, let's go ahead and recap this here. Today, we covered how to choose your race, work backwards to the plan, and the importance of prioritization. Now, let's start planning your race season today. Don't wait till tomorrow. Don't wait till next week. If you want to make things happen, let's just bite the bullet and start planning your race season. Now, if you need personal coaching, feel free to reach out to me. I'll be glad to help. Thanks for joining me on this episode. Stay tuned for more insights in our next session. Now, here's a teaser. In our next coffee time with Coach Torres, we'll dive into the base phase of training. We'll have a special guest. We'll explore how to effectively build your week to lay a strong foundation for the rest of your training season. All right, guys, talk to you later. This is Hector Torres with Coffee Time. See you guys. Bye. Thank you for joining us with Coffee Time with Coach Torres and Friends. Please note that the information shared in this podcast is intended for educational and informational purposes only. It's not a substitute for professional advice. Always consult with a qualified professional before making any changes in your training or health regimen. Enjoy the episode.